Okay, we're here at the BirdDog booth at NAB 2023. I'm here with CJ and I'm RJ. So we're the J's are in the house tonight. I'm looking at upgrading some of my PTZs.
Yep.
I've had the 200 before. I also have the PTZ out to Gen 2s.
Okay.
You know, I've kind of worked a mix between the two.
Yeah.
You guys have had kind of an upgrade to the P200. Can you tell me about the 240 and why is it better?
Yeah, so the 240 is one of our newest cameras that we have. It is up to a 1080p 60 image, and one of the awesome selling factors for it is it has a 40x optical zoom.
That's helpful.
Top of the line right now in terms of punch, so if you put on the other side of a football field, you can see to the other side. Mm-hmm. As far as I/O goes and kind of continuing with where our new models of cameras are going, we have a nice little OLED screen on the front, and this has been awesome and received great feedback from people because as soon as they plug it in, they can see the IP address, the frame rate, the name, and the MAC address of the camera.
No need to pull up Bonjour anymore to figure out where it's
scanner,
at.
No Bonjour, no LAN scan. So you just plug that in, and if you have a call with someone, you say, hey, what does the screen say? What's your IP address? So that's a really nice feature to make it a lot more convenient. On the front here, we also have a 49mm filter thread. So if you want to put like a ND filter on it, or some type of glimmer glass.
When you're dealing with outdoor stuff, yes.
Exactly.
A polarizing filter for sand, beach volleyball.
Yeah, you name it. So we have a lot of people that have been messing around with different types of filters that they can enhance their production. Kind of moving around to the back, I/O is where BirdDog now kind of prides itself, is being able to drop into whatever workflow, whatever switcher you have. So we got NDI out of the back as default, full bandwidth. New addition that we have to our line is that we can also do NDI and NDI HX out at the same time. Mm-hmm. So now instead of having to pick and choose which one's better for you, you can do both. So no really troubles there. We can also do all your favorite three-letter acronyms, SRT, RTMP, RTSP. And then you have HDMI, SDI for your standard baseband productions. And on all of our cameras, you can actually just drive all the outputs at the same time. So you can go NDI out, SDI out to maybe an ATEM switcher, NDI to your favorite IP switcher. Yeah. So there's really not a roadblock right now for you to control and view your camera. We also have a little handle on the back.
I just noticed the handle.
Yeah, so we have a lot of people that move these cameras around and they're like, hey, I don't want to break the camera head. And so this is kind of just a really nice add-on that
I have to ask you though, because I had to deal with doing firmware upgrades with the P200 before. Yeah. I understand that you guys now, it's not two separate. Is it now like one separate update for now?
Yeah, so now that we kind of have our own molds going and our own baseboards, we basically have been able to step away from USB stick updates for good on our cameras. So P200 and all those, they are going to be nearing a final USB stick update because of new firmware that we announced called Fleet Manager, which is a software that you can use to upgrade your whole fleet or your whole flock of bird dogs.
All right, so I actually remember seeing something about, is it called NDI Cloud or something like that? Where actually if you wanted to do remote production, and you had these in anywhere, you can go ahead and do your switching as well as feed and controlling the camera through a cloud-based service. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Yeah,
so we have it BirdDog Cloud. So it's basically the way that we transport full NDI from point to point or from location to location. And the great thing about it is we can take NDI and utilize SRT and then receive it as NDI on the other side. And so what that does for us, if I have someone who brings these cameras to a convention center and they have their whole studio back in a central location, they can basically bring these cameras out, plug them into a computer that runs our software, and then that computer will act as an endpoint, and then the person back at HQ in their studio can see, control, and send tally information right back, all in SRT latency. So how far you are, that's how far the latency is.
All right, so you set your latency for what you like based on your connection speed and all that.
So like Texas to California, it'd be about 50 milliseconds. So that's the latency.
But if you're on a college campus, you're pretty much almost nailed there.
Exactly.
That's really helpful. That way, large facilities, they can actually just remotely place these, but have one control room, commentator, that's not actually on visual location. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, that's the P240.
Yes.
I understand, though, that you've got a new guy here.
Yeah, so we also have the new one in the show. This will be shipping in about 6 weeks. This is kind of what everyone loved about the P120. And we have basically made this to where it is a more affordable option without sacrificing really anything. The only thing that we have changed on this guy is we've changed the internal chip. So the only thing you're missing from our existing P120, which has been really well received, is instead of full NDI, it's HX only, or HX3.
But that's why it's also able to do, and I see the antennas.
And the new feature is the antennas, which is Wi-Fi. Yeah, exactly.
So you can place it anywhere. It's small enough form factor. Put it on some stages, so you're not going to interfere with anybody's field of view for the most part.
Exactly, yeah. And what we also kind of announced is a battery mount option as well. So we will have a plate that screws on underneath, and then right here you can put a V-mount locking battery onto it.
That's awesome.
Now we're truly wireless, and you don't need that.
Put it on a stand, and you just move it where you need to.
Exactly.
And it's full 1080, 60? Or
1080, yep, 1080, 60p. And then the same thing as the other camera that we talked about and all of our existing ones. You also have SDI, HDMI, and USB on this one as well, USB-C. And so you can do 4 outputs if you wanted at the same time for some reason. So there's really nothing limiting you on what you can connect to. And then as far as the HX3 goes, you basically have the option to choose Wi-Fi or choose over the Ethernet cable. So as soon as you do that, if you're going to go wireless mode, do that. If you're going to do standard PoE, which this has PoE, so the one cable plug and play solution.
And I do like the smaller format for like sports related type stuff. I deal with basketball. You want to be able to place it in a cage. There's a little protection there.
Yeah,
that's pretty helpful.
And with all of our cameras, you go upright or upside down, so it doesn't matter where you're mounting those. And then with this guy as well, it is a 20x optical zoom. So for under $1,000, you're basically getting every output except for
20x optical zoom.
Yes, sir.
For that small format.
Yes. Yep. So
forget the Osbot and all that. This is the way to go.
Yeah. So for the price, like I don't think there's anything that really punches in this weight class now. It's basically the same optics as our existing P120, and so we've been able to really listen to customer feedback and trying to offer something that's way more accessible.
Now I know it's a little bit off screen over here, but how well does the keyboard controller integrate with color corrections on the fly for either of these cameras? Are they pretty much, is it compatible?
Yeah, so we do offer a keyboard, and we also try to promote a lot of bundles for it. It is a really good starting keyboard. If you have a basic production, you can do control up to 200 cameras or whatever people advertise. But you can switch between those with 2 clicks. You have gain control, iris control, and then hue control. So you can do those, but I think where BirdDog's really been excelling is our software applications to control cameras. So at NAB, we've also announced an iOS app, an Android app, in addition to our Windows existing app.
All right, because the last time I played with it was more of a browser app, and it was confusing to be able to try to color correct and match on the fly.
Yeah.
Especially in a stage production where you've got lighting is constantly changing all the time.
Yeah.
So is now the newer apps that you're coming out were a little bit easier to accessible and a little bit easier to control?
So the app that we have basically mimics our web UI. So in that you have all the access to all the settings. And what's great is, at least with a software like Cam Control, you can put 4 cameras next to each other in line. So you can actually color match to each other because you get a live video feed above them. So if you're looking at a screen and you don't have to go back and forth between 2 different cameras.
Like transfer profiles to each one of those cameras?
We are working on that as a feature. Not
awesome.
Available yet, and that's been a very big requested thing. So we are working on it, but that will be hopefully coming near in the future.
Or CJ, I appreciate all of your information you get. There's a lot for us guys who do a lot of sports, a lot of stage productions, and we like to be able to place cameras everywhere, especially events type of stuff. Imagine that at a wedding. Awesome. That would be awesome. All right, so thank you for your help, for your info, and we'll get more on this as time progresses.
Yeah, pleasure.
Thanks.